everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Robin, or Hobbit's Reading List, and today we are going to figure out what I will be reading in the month of February, which is the month of love, so I'm probably going to aim for a lot of romance while also trying to incorporate the books that I have to get read this month. So let's figure out what I'm going to read. If you haven't seen any of my previous TBR videos, I play a game called TBR Pursuit, which uses the Lord of the Rings Trivial Pursuit board. Each color represents a different genre that represents the 6 most popular genres I have on my physical shelves, which are romance, LGBT, Jewish, psychology, fantasy, and classics. The bigger spots at the end of the spokes are miscellaneous, so those account for all the other books, because I have a very eclectic collection, like most people who collect books. I also do have a spot that will add a book to my TBR, which is the roll again spot, and I usually go for 7 rolls, but if I feel that something is, if the prompts are maybe like not exciting enough, or I'm just feeling kind of chaotic, or I'm trying to get more prompts so I can get the books that I have to read into those, then I will intentionally pick a roll again. So let's see how I'm feeling. Let's just get right into it. Okay, so usually the first roll is sort of a gimme, unless I roll a 6. Because I get to choose whatever direction I want to go. So I'm going to aim for romance, which is orange, just because, you know, it's February. So let's see what I get. 1. Okay, great. Which will put us over here. Okay. Ooh. Yay! A romance that is a grumpy sunshine, which is one of my favorite tropes. Okay, so a romance book that is grumpy sunshine. So this was actually a little hard because a lot of times the blurbs don't say grumpy sunshine. A lot of times they'll say enemies to lovers, which is not necessarily the same thing. So I crawled through Instagram, the grumpy X sunshine tag, until I saw a book that I owned. And that took a while. But I landed on 10 Things That Never Happened by Alexis Hall. Now, I'm a little wary of Alexis Hall because I felt betrayed by husband material. If you've read it, you know why. But I do generally like their writing, and 10 Things That Never Happened takes place in the same universe as boyfriend and husband material, but with completely different characters. So one of the main characters, Sam, works for this guy, Jonathan. Jonathan seems more the grumpy person, and Sam is not necessarily the best employee. Jonathan hired him because of like a sentimental reason, which I'm not sure what that is, and calls Sam down to London to have a conversation about letting him go. And Sam somehow like trips, hits his head, and sort of like implies that he doesn't remember anything. And so we have like a fake amnesia trope, and through the course of this fake amnesia, Sam and Jonathan get closer, and I assume start developing feelings and falling in love and all that sort of stuff. I didn't like the review that I found on Instagram that called this grumpy sunshine was not glowing. So I'm a little nervous, but I didn't want to crawl through Instagram anymore. Yay! Okay, for the second book, now we have to go that way. 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, miscellaneous. Good, because usually I sort of hover in a spoke for a while. I'm glad I didn't do that this time. Except I'm not glad to have to read my lowest rated book, which is also going to be a hassle to figure out what that is. My lowest rated book. So after crawling through Instagram, I had to crawl through my Storygraph, because Storygraph doesn't allow you to sort your TBR based off of rating. So I had to go through every book and see what was the lowest rated one. I got through most of them. Storygraph kept sort of like freezing. So there were maybe 15 to 20 more that I didn't get to, but I'm pretty sure this is probably the lowest rated one. So with 2 stars, we have Sunset Lodge in Georgetown? Yeah, in Georgetown. So this is about a brothel madam. I picked this up, God, it had to be like 3 years ago now, when I was on family vacation in South Carolina, somewhat close to Georgetown. This is the history, I believe, of the brothel and the madam that this author put together. It was rated 2 stars, which I don't think nonfiction books are usually rated that low, even if they're like fairly niche. So I'm kind of nervous, and picking this up, it was heavier than I thought it was. Like, it's thin, but it's heavier than I thought it was. So I don't know. I'm kind of nervous. Okay. 3. So 1, 2, 3, which is Jewish. 1, 2, 3, which is Jewish. 1, 2, 3, LGBT. I'm going to say, since most of my LGBT books are romance, I'm going to go for that. Okay, and it's a book with a holiday. And I can almost guarantee you I don't have any books that are about Valentine's Day. For LGBT book with a holiday, this was also hard. Storygraph's filtering capabilities on TBR kind of need to be refined a little bit. Like, just for me, because I was looking through any LGBT book that mentioned a holiday. I couldn't find any. Probably because I've already read them. You know, we just had December. I did a whole, like, holiday romance thing. So I've probably read them all. So I had to go with a book that was, like, it also doesn't mention a holiday, but it's associated. I went with Cupid Calling. It was the closest thing I had. So these 2 men enter this, like, bachelorette-esque show. One of them genuinely wants to fall in love. The other one wants a free vacation. And they end up falling for each other instead of the woman they're competing for. So it sounds fun. It has a very good rating. I don't think it has the actual holiday in it. But I was kind of limited. Alright, for the 4th book, 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so Jewish, 2, 3, 4, 5, LGBT, or roll again. Feels a little early for a roll again. Let's go LGBT. See, I'm back in a boat. Ooh, yay, a 5-star prediction, yay! An LGBT book that is a 5-star prediction. So, I have, and I'm going to mispronounce this, I'm so sorry, The Ballad of Jacquotte, Delahaye, who is a real person. And I'm not going to read the blurb, although it doesn't really have a blurb, it has nutrition facts. That's fun. But I am going to read a little bit of the back, which has a letter from the author. She said, "So often people of color are forgotten or erased from history, and especially women of color. And the more I wrote about Jacquotte, the angrier I got for her. Whether or not she truly existed..." Oh, okay. "Whether or not she truly existed, or if her story could be attributed to another or many other women of color, this was a story I felt needed to be told, and so I strove to tell it. Jacquotte is the black, bisexual, rage-fueled pirate captain of my heart, and I hope she can be that for you, too." I love that description of this character. I was like, a black, bisexual, rage-fueled pirate captain. So yeah, I'm hoping this is a 5-star prediction. The cover is very pretty. I got this from Pango, so I think it might be a Fair Loot edition. I'm not positive it is signed. So it must be a subscription box. So yeah, it'll be fun. For the 5th roll, 4, which can't do that. 2, 3, 4, roll again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Good thing I didn't add a book on the last one. Let's go this way. So now I will have a total of 8 books on my TBR. Right now. Alright. Oh no. Okay. Let's try that again. Nope. Dang it. Dang it. I need one of those dice trays. I had to hold it down. I'm sorry if you feel like that's cheating. So that's miscellaneous. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Jewish. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 LGBT. Because I do have other books that I need to get on my TBR, I will go for miscellaneous. Oh, interesting. I've never gotten this one before. Random emoji vibes. So I will use a random emoji generator and then find a book that matches those vibes. Okay. Okay. Random emojis. This is the first time I've ever gotten this prompt. I forgot I put it in there. So I'm going to put up a little screen recording of the emojis that I got. And so I got a graph, a camera, and a 10. Because I had been crawling through Instagram on like the romance and stuff looking for the other prompts that I had read a lot of the blurbs, and so as soon as I saw the camera, I thought photography. The graph sort of relates, but I grabbed Kissing Kosher by Meltzer. So this is a romance book about this woman, Avital, I believe. She works at her family's bakery. She has chronic pelvic pain, which has forced her to put aside her photography dreams and sort of just focus on the bakery because that's what she's able to handle. But she needs help, so she hires Ethan, who she doesn't know is coming to work for her to spy on her family's like operation and recipe to go back to his family, who own a more like mass producing kosher bakery company. And so that made me sort of think of like graphs. So that's the vibes. But I generally like Meltzer's writing. There are some things that like in the previous books I've read by her like felt a little illogical, but for the most part I do enjoy it. So this should be good. For the 6th book, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 Jewish, 1, 2, 3, 4 fantasy, 2, 3, 4 Jewish. I'm not avoiding Jewish books. I want to be very clear. However, I've been wanting to read a fantasy for a really long time. So I'm going to choose that. I'm not avoiding Jewish books. I have plenty I need to read. But I also haven't read a fantasy in a while. The first in a series. Alright. The first book in a fantasy series. I have quite a few. But I wanted to go with something appropriate for the season, and so I picked Cozy Fantasy. So I grabbed You Can't Spell Treason Without T. From what I know, this is a sapphic couple, Raina and Kianth, I believe. They just want to open a bookshop that serves tea, which I can relate to. But one of them is like, Raina is one of the queen's private guards, and Kianth is a very powerful mage. And so they feel like they can't, follow their dreams until Raina is taken hostage in an assassination attempt, I believe. She decides that she's done. And she's not, the risk is not worth the reward. And so she and her partner go to this other town, open up this bookshop, but there's some drama that follows them. So it sounds cozy and exciting, which I love. Okay. 7th. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fantasy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Roll again. 2, 3, 4. 5. LGBT. Well, I did say, you know, February, so LGBT it is. Okay, and it has to be on audiobook. Or available on audiobook. Okay. An LGBT book that is available on audio. I will probably listen to this on audiobook as well because I listened to the first book in the series on audiobook, and that is Prayer for the Crown Shy. So I listened to A Psalm for the Wild Built, and this is, I believe, a direct continuation. So Sibling Dex is a monk, and they go out with their tea trailer thing to provide comfort to the villagers outside, and sort of stumbles upon this robot. Now, robots used to be very plentiful, and then they sort of like withdrew away from humans, but the robot's job is to make sure that humans are, what was the question? That humans have what they need, or have what they want. But part of the question is, in a world where people have what they want, does having more even matter? And I think it's asking about, like, human happiness. So I believe this is just a duology, so this is the last book. But the first one is very cozy, but it also brought up, like, a lot of questions. I also remember it being very funny. So I am looking forward to this a lot. And it's thin, so it'll be a quick audiobook. Alright, so for what is likely the last book... 2. So LGBT or romance. Let's go romance. Oh, a paranormal romance. Honestly, I don't know how many of these I have. I don't think I have that many. Alright, a romance book with paranormal. I had to look up the definition of paranormal because Storygraph also doesn't allow you to filter with that. And I wasn't sure if I had any. And I think if we're being technical about paranormal, I don't. So I, again, went for what I felt was closest. So I grabbed A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon. So this follows Mariel, who is prophesied to be the most powerful witch seen in centuries. But she prefers baking. She doesn't really want to be a witch, she just wants to bake. And she's baking and she goes to like summon flour, but she accidentally summons a demon who's there for her soul. And I believe they agree to... Osruth, who's the demon, can't leave Mariel until he has her soul. And for some crazy reason, she wants to hold on to it. So they just, like, have to stay together. And in order to explain that to people, Mariel tells people that they're dating. Which I guess the demon goes along with. Yeah, I don't know. It sounds really interesting. I picked this up at an adult book fair. And I was just like, this plot sounds insane in the best way. So I had to get it. So those are all the books from TBR Pursuit. Now... for the, what was it, 3? Yeah. For the 3 books that I have to read this month that I could not fit in the game. So, first up is Vathek. I'm already halfway through. I'm reading it for my Gothic literature class. It is about this guy, Vathek. He is essentially a prince somewhere in the Middle East / India. Because of when this book was written, which I believe was the late 1700s, they didn't care about geography. They they just had a sort of like a fetishism with the Asian continent, I'll say. I'm not going to call it what they called it. But essentially it's about corruption and people doing whatever they felt that they had to for power. No matter how it impacted other people and how that is bad. So it's interesting. I'm waiting for Vathek to get his comeuppance because that usually happens in Gothic literature. So, speaking of Gothic literature, after Vathek, for my class, I also need to read The Mysteries of Udolpho by Anne Radcliffe. I don't know what this is about. I haven't looked. I kind of like going in blind with these a little bit because I don't know, it makes me more invested instead of like getting annoyed like I have with like other gothic literature in the past. So I can't tell you what it's about, but watch my vlogs in a couple weeks and I'll give you like my real life thoughts. So yeah, there's that. And then finally, of course, I have a PG Woodhouse book that I need to read this month, which is The Girl in Blue. Yeah, The Girl in Blue. I also don't know what that's about, because I also go in blind for these, because that way it's my initial thoughts in my notes, and then when I record the podcast with my dad, it's all of those initial thoughts, so it's not being tainted by, you know, like, oh, I understand that now. So that is my TBR. Somehow I ended up with 11 in the shortest month of the year. I'm predicting a consequence book in March. Because I don't know how I'm gonna do this. Yeah, this will be fun. So leave me a comment if any of these books are on your TBR, if you've read any of these books, or you just want to send me encouragement, because February makes me nervous. Because this, I think, has happened every year, where I have a double-digit TBR in February. I'm pretty sure. It feels like that's happened more than once and twice. Like the video, subscribe, click the notification bell, so as I mentioned, you get my thoughts in real time on a weekly basis at least. And I will talk to you in the next video.